All right. Ted, it looks like we're live. Happily surprised this work. Good morning, everyone. Happy Wednesday. Welcome to the morning show. Surprise, surprise. This is a whole new other setup. We'll get into that in a second. Of course, like always, reminding you to head on over to patreon.com/Pantelis to get yourself a plan that works for you. Subscribe to this YouTube channel. And let's plug in Poseidon. Why not? The Poseidon 69. Obviously, he's not here because we're in my basement.
Yeah, but this is a great studio you've got in your basement. This is a fantastic setup, and this is where you do politiquement parlant.
Exactly.
So there have been some heavy hitters in George's basement.
You're sitting on that same chair that former Premier Jean Charest sat on.
There you go. Yeah. Where are you going, Mr. Charest? I'm going to George's basement on the South Shore.
Jagmeet Singh sat there. Look at that.
This is impressive.
Oh, man. Thank you all for tuning in. And it's been a minute. It's been a minute. And there's a reason for that. And that's because there's just so much happening over at that Pantelis studio. This guy's busy. He's all over the place for good reason, obviously. And we're happy for him. Things are excelling and they're moving. And, well, the reason why we haven't been able to go back in studio is because Poseidon had decided to go through this very lengthy and very complex sex change. He's not yet ready to come out.
He's now Cassandra. What was she the Greek goddess of? Cassandra. Wasn't she a Greek goddess?
She was somewhere in the mythology. I'm not sure. Yeah. So things have been moving. People are busy.
Hang on, I'll turn it down. Anyway, Poseidon's a nice-looking woman.
Exactly. We're looking forward to seeing him again. And whenever that happens, hopefully we can return back in studio. But in the meantime, because there's so many things going on, and Ted, I looked at the last time we published an episode, we recorded. It was on March 5th.
Yeah, so we had to get back on because there's just so much to talk about.
I don't know about you, but it felt like to me, it hasn't been 2 weeks. It feels like a whole month has gone by. The amount of information, the amount of news that has come down the pipeline, it's just incredible.
And the way the news cycle works these days is, stuff goes from, everyone's talking about something one day, and then within 2 or 3 days, they've moved on to something else.
Exactly.
But we're going to be talking about an election campaign for the next few weeks. That's not going to, we're not going to move on to something else. We'll move on to something else in the campaign itself.
Exactly. Yeah.
From day to day, probably, but the actual campaign is going to be top of mind for what's the election date? April 28th.
April 28th is the election
date. So it's basically a 5-week election campaign.
It's the very minimum required by the law. I think it's just a little over 30 days, and we're going to get to that. I mean, I think there's a strategy behind that as well.
So do I.
But there's so many things, and I mean, you've been covering. I mean, you've been on the radio for over 30 years.
Over 45 years. I started when I was 3.
And at least since I've been involved, I have never, ever seen so many twists and turns, even before the election was even announced. And it's crazy, Ted. And I was scrolling through social media the other day, and there's I think it was the guy from Canada 338, the pollster, Philippe G. Fournier, something like that. Very well-known pollster. And he puts up a post, and he says, look at the difference between January 5th, 2025, and March 5th, 2025. And in one instance, the Conservatives were over 235 seats. The Liberals were coming third.
Yeah, the Liberals were. I remember at one point the Liberals were projected in one poll to win 21 seats. Like they were going to be absolutely crushed.
Oh, demolished. And now, March 5th, 2025, the Liberals are in majority territory, and the Conservatives are official opposition. I have never seen a flip of over 20 some points in the polls. I've never seen anything like that.
Yeah. Well, I think it's all, you can chalk it all up to Trump and tariffs and threats of annexation and 51st state.
Yeah.
It's all about and because of that. whether it's going to sustain, whether the Liberals can sustain that through a campaign remains to be seen. And whether people are going to say the same thing in the privacy of the voting booth that they're saying when they get a call from a pollster remains to be seen. And whether the polls are accurate and whether they're even honest remains to be seen. Because you would know better than me because you're more plugged in than I am, but I get the feeling that a lot of these pollsters are just part of the establishment. And they're
it's tough
and
to
they
say.
and they put a liberal spin on the polls. That's me being cynical, but I've always had that impression. You look at the 2016 U.S. election, and it was supposed to be Hillary in a romp.
Yeah.
And then the next thing you know, on election night, Trump's the president.
Yeah. Look, it's interesting because, first of all, pollster, I sometimes go down that path as well, because in my mind, it doesn't make sense. But at the same time, the pollsters can't risk their credibility, because at the end of the exercise, people are going to look at what you were projecting and what the result was. And that's what they pride themselves on, right? Like if you go on Léger's website, the first thing that comes up is what they were projecting in the last provincial election and the results that came up, and they're comparing it with the other pollsters as well, just to show that, we're a little bit more credible, we were a little bit more right, our calculations were a little bit more correct. When it comes to the American elections, it's funny because we had an analyst on our show who often comments on Radio-Canada, and he goes, look, everyone thought that Hillary was going to win, but when you looked at the polls, the percentages weren't that off. Because when you look at the margin of error, like the 3 to 5%, if you're looking at the maximum potential for Hillary Clinton and the minimum potential for Donald Trump, everybody thought that Hillary was winning, but that you can't really see it that way, because maybe Trump is going to get the maximum and Hillary Clinton
was within the margin of error.
Absolutely. But the pollsters were focusing so much on Hillary Clinton, they were giving her the maximum possible while giving the minimum possible to Trump.
Well, that's also because the media, the mainstream media, is generally so anti-Trump that that's,
Now, on that front, I can agree with you 100% that they can put their spin on whatever results come out. But the pollster in the end is going to say, oh, look, we were off by 2-3%. It's not that much. We're within the margin of error,
So what's the consensus among the pollsters right now, still 5 weeks out, or 4 weeks and change out from the election?
Right now, the Liberals are in majority territory.
Really? I find that hard to believe.
Isn't it incredible?
I find it hard to believe that that's going to happen. I think it's going to be a lot closer than we thought it would be pre-Trump and his tariff war, but I find it hard to believe that the Liberals would win another majority. I mean, it's just if only because of, and we've talked about this so many times before, voter fatigue and the cycle, the political cycle. Like, really? A fourth term? And Art Carney, and I call him Art because I can't help myself. Mark Carney is just more of what we got for the last 10 years with Justin Trudeau, and even an accelerated form of Trudeau. And I also think Carney is a lot more savvy than Trudeau. He's a lot smarter than Trudeau. And if you didn't like Trudeau, Carney is a sheep in wolf's clothing.
Here's the thing about Mark Carney. Nobody really has been able to size him up because he's relatively new. The experience that he has, obviously, you can't take it away from him. I mean, this guy...
his experience as an economist, his resume is very impressive.
I mean...
His non-political resume, though.
Exactly.
He has no resume as a politician.
No. And, a lot of people are saying, well, that's what we need. We don't want career politicians like Poilievre, who got in the parliament in his 20s. By the age of 33, he already has secured his full pension. And, all these arguments that are lining up now, and you see them, right? Here's the problem. I agree, and I also disagree with this whole labeling of, the career politician thing, right? Which for me is annoying, because I've worked in politics, and someone being a good politician for me is a good thing.
Yeah.
Now, when we're comparing Mark Carney to Justin Trudeau, it's night and day. I mean, you can't even compare the intelligence and the knowledge.
Well, substitute drama teacher versus, accomplished economist.
Let's agree that Mark Carney is probably not as good as a drama teacher. So on that front, maybe Justin has, he gets a point. But on anything else, I mean, you tell me that any prime minister wouldn't want Mark Carney on their team. It's hilarious to even think about that. In fact, it was Stephen Harper that appointed him governor of the Bank of Canada. And it's not because he was just some random guy. This guy is very smart. He's brilliant when it comes to numbers. He's a great economist. After the Bank of Canada, he went to the Bank of London, and then he came back. So on that front, I have nothing to criticize the guy. I mean, in terms of his profile and his CV, it's the perfect candidate you want to run in an election.
What was his track record as the governor of the Bank of Canada and the governor of the Bank of England? Because I heard a podcast, my friend and former colleague Trish Wood,
yes,
accomplished journalist, Fifth Estate, as it happens, she had, and I don't remember the woman's name, she had a very brief tenure as the Prime Minister of England.
Oh, yeah. I can't remember her name.
And she said she had nothing good to say about Mark Carney.
She said as
the governor of the Bank of England, he was an absolute disaster.
I mean, I don't know, and obviously it's not.
So it's an impressive title. I was the Bank of Canada governor. I was the Bank of England governor. Okay, but what happened during your tenure?
Well, when you attach that to, I was the governor of the Bank of England at a time where England was going through Brexit, and we had to manage all sorts of things. And I mean, it's so far away from anything that I'm capable of or knowledge of. I have no idea what that was. And I heard that, I don't know, it's probably the same lady. I don't know if it's the same interview or the same podcast, but I heard the negative stuff that she had to say.
She made the rounds. Yeah, that woman made the interview rounds, and she was, I should know her name because she was the Prime Minister of England, but only for just exactly. She had like a Kim Campbell kind of term of term in office.
But then when you look at his results as the governor of the Bank of Canada, this is 2007, 2008, 2009, when the entire planet was plummeting into a crisis
recession.
Because of what was happening in the U.S. And I had heard, and this was Jim Flaherty, the Harper's finance minister,
right?
Who I think takes a lot of the credit. Someone had told me that they were pressured by the U.S. to kind of follow into the same fiscal policy as the U.S. so that their economies could kind of be in sync. So drop the interest rates, stimulate the economy, etc. And Flaherty said, we're not doing that. There's no way in hell that we're going to drop our interest rates to 1.5, whatever the hell it was in the U.S., and it was the most intelligent thing that they could have done. Now, I don't know what part of that Mark Carney has to do with it. I'm guessing, I mean, the Bank of Canada, they're the ones that
he
control.
Must have played a role.
Absolutely. So, and that pretty much saved us. I'm not saying that we didn't go through that crisis, but we didn't feel it as much as the U.S. or any other country. Look what happened in Greece, for example. I mean, Greece had its own problems, but so many other countries, Ireland, Cyprus defaulted, like all these countries that had fragile economies, they just couldn't hack it, right? We kind of surfed that wave pretty okay. There's nothing to take away from Carney. And I've said this on our podcast here on Politiquement Parlant, I may have said also on the morning show, my biggest worry with Carney is the politician. And I come back to that whole career politician argument that everyone seems to be attacking Poilievre on. And I'm thinking, what do I want? Do I want a good economist that has zero understanding about politics? Or do I want someone that understands politics and can have a top economist in his team, especially in the time that we're living right now? And honestly, I think I want a good politician that understands, the politics.
And can delegate.
And can get a top economist to guide him in whatever fiscal policy or economic policy. And that's where Carney's weakness is. And we saw that off the bat because for anyone that's been following this campaign, and I think I said that even on the morning show, they were doing their campaign. It was the leadership race. Everybody was, yay. And that's when the polls started climbing for the Liberals. That's fine. It's a renewal, fresh face, smart guy, good looking. But you're going after your fan club. It's the Liberals that are going to vote for you. So, and at that point, I was telling everyone, just be prudent a little bit in your analysis, because once that race is over, that's fine. And it's normal that all the attention is on Mark Carney. He was the front runner in that leadership race. The party signed up, I don't know how many members. It's this refreshing kind of cycle that starts again. And that's fine. And I thought to myself, let's wait until that leadership race is finished, because obviously he's going to win. And when he wins, then he gets into the, on the playing field. And that's nasty. It's bloody, it's dirty, and you're going against seasoned politicians.
And seasoned journalists. And we saw it right out of the gate when he, and I thought this was a defining moment for him when he was at the news conference and he was being asked about his assets going into a blind trust and not disclosing potential conflicts of interest. And he said to Rosemary Barton, who asked him, and this is Rosemary Barton from the liberal-friendly CBC, asking him about potential conflicts of interest in his with his assets. And you could see he got snippy. He was visibly irritated by the question, and he opened his response by saying, "Look inside yourself, Rosemary."
How condescending.
Oh my God. And that demonstrated to me his lack of political experience and his lack of, if he can't be diplomatic with the media, how's he going to do when he has to sit down face à face with somebody like Donald Trump?
It's such a corporate attitude that you can imagine someone up top telling someone below, look,
exactly,
man, you know what you're talking about.
Yeah,
just
you
sit
peon,
down.
Quiet you.
Yeah, exactly.
And I thought that was, when he did that, I thought to myself, you alienate the media, you've got them on your side. Don't piss them off and alienate them.
Not only that, Ted, but also you're starting to show your true colors. And I'm not saying that he's a bad person. All I'm saying is that he's starting to show that he has a lack of experience in how to do politics. And if Mark Carney would be in the race back in 2015, or if the Liberal Party had a crisis back in 2019, that's all fine and dandy. But now you're telling us that this is going to be the most consequential election in our recent history, blah, blah, blah.
And I think it is. I don't disagree with that.
I don't disagree with that either, but I mean, we've heard that so many times, and maybe this time it's true because you're facing a real bully.
I think this time it is true.
Yeah, absolutely. So you want to show that you are the best leader to take us there. You have to be able to deal with this sort of pressure. You have there's no way that you can just say, "Look, look at my resume, look at my track record."
Yeah.
Who gives a shit about your track record? Yeah. I want to know what you're going to tell Donald Trump. I want to know how you're going to deal with this. I want to know how you're going to drop the commercial, the trade barriers between the provinces. I want to know, are you finally going to be able to transport Alberta's product across Canada to get it to market? So these are questions that he's going to have to face, and I just feel like they've glorified him so much because he's Mark Carney, which is exactly what they did with Justin Trudeau, by the way.
They've glorified. Who do you mean by
the Liberals?
Just
the Liberals.
Not, do you include the media in that as well?
No. I'm excluding the media for now because I think the media, they understand. The media, and this is funny, and I was telling you before we went live, I was listening to Chantal Hébert. She's often on...
Toronto Star columnist, right? She's on CBC a lot. She's on their power panels or whatever they call them.
She's one of the best, in my opinion, bilingual journalists. She covers French, she covers English. She's so knowledgeable and
experienced.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. And she's
seen it all.
In the middle. You cannot tell if tomorrow she goes to vote. You can't tell what she's voting for. And that's what you want in a journalist.
Absolutely. And that's not what you're getting from one of her fellow CBC panelists, Andrew Coyne, who's got full-on Trump derangement syndrome. Yeah. He's blown all credibility to me.
Yeah. So I was listening to her. She's on the Peter Mansbridge podcast, which I listen to. What was she saying? Where was I going with this?
We were talking about, I don't know, George. I'm 174 years old. How am I supposed to remember what we were talking about 2 minutes ago? Yeah, we were talking about Carney being glorified.
Oh yes,
by the Liberal Party versus by the media.
Okay, so and when you push someone and you're like, oh, you're our hero, you're our new face, and you're gonna save us, and this and that. It's one thing, but when you get out in the playing field, that's where I was going. She was saying that politicians very often don't realize that journalists have no soul, and it's not our job to have a soul. Our job is to ask questions and to demand answers. So when you are condescending towards a journalist, you're not hurting that journalist's feelings. The journalist doesn't give a shit about what you answer. The journalist has a question, and he either wants to trap you or he wants to get an answer that he's going to be able to rebuttal with another question that he has. So, and that's and I think she's 100% right on this. I mean, journalists have no soul. They're like, we're flipping on either side because we want answers to our questions. And Mark Carney doesn't get that. And that's, I think, is a very weak point, because even when you look at Jagmeet Singh, who I don't think is going to do very well in this election, Jagmeet Singh has way more experience as a politician to be able to navigate in this it's a minefield. Yeah. And it's an election. So there's constant pressure. There's constant questions. It's always changing. In one day, there's 3, 4, 5 different things that can come out. So, and he doesn't have that experience. And not only that, before he was able to hide from the media, but now you can't, because you are the front runner. And this is, an advantage, but also a disadvantage when you're in the lead, because it's fine. You're controlling the narrative and you're ahead of the game, but at the same time, it's the biggest risk because now everyone is against you. Everyone is coming at you right now. And
that's why a short election campaign is to his advantage.
For him, it's all strategic. Yes, they want the shortest possible campaign. But there's so much on the line, Ted, that even if you had an election for 2 weeks, it doesn't really matter. There is so much on the line that you are going to be bombarded every single day. And again, you're going up against seasoned politicians. And there's already a couple of mistakes that he's made. And what's important in an election, and this is just my opinion, I mean, I've organized quite a few of them, and my sense is that the only place where you can kind of justify fucking up a little bit is in the middle. Because in the middle, that's where all the parties present most of their platform.
In the middle of the campaign, you mean?
Yeah, in the middle.
So like 2.5 weeks into a 5-week campaign.
Exactly. So there, mess up. Don't worry about it, because there is so much information and there's so much content that
it doesn't stand out as much as it's not as amplified as it would be at the very beginning or at the very end.
Unless it's a major fuck up. Yeah. But normally there, I mean, you can get away with it, right? There's something that's going to eclipse it, whatever. There's something that might happen. In the beginning of your campaign and in the end of your campaign, it's the most crucial period. You cannot have a bad start in a campaign, and you cannot finish bad in a campaign. So that's where the focus needs to happen. So he started off good because he boosted the Liberals' numbers. Mm-hmm. So we'll give him that. But it didn't take long before people were like, oh, what the hell was that? That condescending tone towards the journalist. Yeah. The Conservatives coming out with his, questioning his assets and if he's put the blind trust. Today, I'm telling you, today we're recording, it's Wednesday, obviously. This whole first part of the day is going to be preoccupied by the investment funds that he created in the Bahamas when he was at Brookfield. So it's like, why are you going to the Bahamas? And we all know the Bahamas, it's a tax haven, right?
Yeah.
So he's gonna be questioned on that everywhere he goes today, maybe even tomorrow. And here's the thing: when you're campaigning for 30 days or 34 days, you don't want something that's gonna preoccupy even 1 or 1.5 days or 2 days of your campaign. Like, time passes so fast. You want to get on with your day and go to the next announcement and then your next promise, and you got to keep the ball rolling. And if the media keeps coming back to what happened 2-3 days ago, you're stuck. And it's like they put up a barrier, and you don't want that. You want to move on. So everything that you say goes in the back, and let's go. What's next?
Well, he dropped the ball yesterday, and I think this is one of those things that we were talking about, the news cycle and how rapidly it moves. I think this is something that, no one's going to be talking about in 2 days, but I thought it was a significant gaffe when he misidentified one of his own candidates, one of the survivors of the École Polytechnique massacre. He got her name wrong and he got the school wrong.
How embarrassing is that?
He was winging it, right? And he should have known better. It's Nathalie Provost. Yeah. And he called her Natalie Pronovost. And the shooting was at École Polytechnique, and he said it was at Concordia. Like, it was a real, that's an attention to detail thing. And it's such a sensitive thing.
Absolutely.
You got to wonder about how's that, how is that going to play, especially in Quebec?
Oh my God.
And especially with women.
Well, first of all, he's already screwed up in Quebec because he refused to do the French debate from TVA LCN.
Explain that scenario to me, because I don't understand it.
So there's always been 2 debates organized by this media consortium. Okay, so CBC, CTV, Global, they all get together. I don't know how they figure out, who pays what and how, and the questions, and who does the debate.
Who's the moderator?
Yeah, whatever. Yeah. So, but in any case, they're all together, and they organize an English and a French debate. It's been a couple of years now, though, that LCN TVA, which is a private media corporation owned by Quebecor, they've come up with what I think is the best format that I've ever seen for a debate. It's called a face-à-face. It's like a face-off. So everyone is present.
All the leaders?
All leaders are present.
Okay.
But the moderator is like, all right, Ted and George, this is just for you. And he asks a question. and the debate happens between the two people.
Okay.
And then he's going to go, okay, Ted with so-and-so. Let's go. That
Poseidon.
question. Yeah. Yeah.
Bro.
Yeah, bro, why are you pressuring me, bro? So then he's like, okay, Pantelis with Ted. Let's go on. So it's 2x2. It's always a face-off.
Okay.
And it's fantastic. It's fantastic because
French only,
it's
obviously.
in French only. It is the most watched debate here in Quebec, and it's crucial for the electors. And for some reason, which TVA LCN hasn't clarified it yet. I mean, they use the excuse that, well, the economic context being what it is, and the difficulties that media is suffering these days, we have no other choice but to charge the parties to do this debate. And it's an important debate. It's in Quebec. It's in French. It's the most watched debate, and they're charging $75,000 per party to participate in the debate. Everyone said yes. Mark Carney says no. And the reason he says no is not because of the money. Obviously, they have the money. Mm-hmm. He said there's two things. One, well, if we're going to be fair, we need to invite the Green Party as well. Nobody gives a shit about the fucking Green Party. They don't elect anyone in Quebec, and they're not even going to win. So it doesn't matter. It's
How many
stupid
seats
excuse.
do they have? One?
One. And it's out in BC, I think. And the second thing, their concern was, if we start paying to have access to the media, what does that say about our democratic institutions and the neutrality and the objectivity of the media, which I find is a weak.
So you think it was a dodge?
Well, here's the thing. Poiliev comes out, yes, and he's like, listen, I will pay the $75,000 for Mark Carney, for Mark Carney to come to the debate. That was so masterful.
Yeah,
like that's such a little candy. In French, it's du bonbon.
Well, that's good politics. That's smart of him.
There you go.
Savvy.
So he's like, listen, cut the excuses. I'll pay the $75,000. Come to Quebec, and obviously, Yves-François Blanchet from the Bloc was fucking livid. He's like, what the hell is going on with this guy? One, you think Quebec, you say that Quebec is important and you value Quebec and you say that the French language is important and Quebec culture is important. And the one debate that Quebecers are going to be watching, and it's the most watched debate, and it's the most challenging format where we can actually question you, you're going to reject it. What kind of message are you sending to Quebecers? And right after that, he fucks up with the École Polytechnique and the candidate's name. It was two bad things associated to Quebec, and he fumbled, like he tripped, So it's not looking so good for him right now in Quebec. And it's surprising that when you're looking at the polls, the Liberals are fucking skyrocketing in Quebec. But when you're looking at what his actions, it's a little insulting. Why won't you do the debate? Okay, we know you suck in English, but who cares, man?
In French, you mean?
In French, sorry. So show some courage and come and confront your adversaries. It's a democratic exercise that is essential, in my opinion, and I love that debate. So the debate has been canceled because obviously they said if all participate, we're good. If at least one canceled, we're not going to do it. Yeah. So that's what's happening with that debate. And
well, listen, even if his French is bad, it doesn't matter how he says it. It's what he says. Look at Jean Chrétien. His English is terrible, but there's substance to what he says in either language. Yeah. So if Carney has substance, it shouldn't matter. As long as he's functionally bilingual, it shouldn't matter if his accent's bad or if his vocabulary is not the best. Well, it's the substance of what he says.
You see, Ted, I don't think he's functionally bilingual.
Oh, really?
I don't think so. I wouldn't put him in that category.
Wow.
I think his French is just horrible. His friend, like if he's not reading it,
like his comprehension, even.
No, I think he can understand it. Although at one press conference, the journalist had to repeat the question in English, which was quite embarrassing.
Yeah, that's bad.
I think that was last week.
Yeah.
So I'll give him the comprehension side of it, but he can't. He takes forever to answer a question. And how are you going to debate with that? There's no way.
Nobody outside Quebec probably gives a shit about that. But elections can be won or lost in Quebec, federal elections.
I mean, here's the thing, and this is where Yves-François Blanchet criticizes him heavily, is because you're looking at the numbers. They're favorable to your party. You're skyrocketing in Quebec. You picked up steam in Ontario. I think they're first now in Ontario as well. They have you making a majority government if elections were held tomorrow, and you just don't give a shit anymore. So look, it's a political attack. Obviously, I'm not going to say that the guy doesn't care about Quebec. It's probably not true, But it's a strong line. It's a strong line for them, and they're gonna keep attacking him on that. It's like, listen, he doesn't care about Quebec, and that's gonna be the Bloc's line. He doesn't care about.
I was going to ask you, how does the Bloc approach this election? Because the landscape has changed so much. Like, what's their plan of attack?
The Bloc Québécois, and this is going to be a very bizarre election for the Bloc Québécois, because the Bloc Québécois has always followed the line of we're here to defend Quebec's interests, and many times they were agreeing with what François Legault was doing, because he's the Quebec government. He represents the Quebec government. So if that's what Quebecers want, that's what we're going to defend in Ottawa.
Because the election is all about, it boils down to the number one issue is Trump, right?
Of course, absolutely.
So if you're the Bloc, how do you approach that?
That's the biggest challenge, I think, for Blanchet, because you keep saying that we're here to defend Quebecers' interests in Ottawa, but now the challenge is how to defend Canadians' voice in Washington. So what is your message? You want to represent Quebec's voice in Ottawa that wants to represent Canadians' voice in Washington?
That's pretty complicated, eh?
You know what I'm saying? So, I don't know.
Got to jump through some hoops.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So he's having a little bit of a tough time, and also now he's falling to the third party in Quebec.
I was going to ask you what the polls are like for the Bloc now, because pre-tariff, it was the Bloc in a romp in Quebec.
They were neck and neck with the Conservatives. The Liberals were coming third. And now, obviously, the Conservatives, with all this thing, I mean, they've dropped, and the Liberals have taken the lead to the point where the Bloc and the Conservatives are neck and neck for second, third.
Okay.
So that's where they're at. And, you know, the strategy from the Liberal camp is, listen, you need a strong government. Put your partisanship aside. We need a real chance, because if it's not us, it's Poilievre. So make a choice. Who's it going to be? And that's why Mark Carney's main line is, who is best fit to confront Trump, whereas Poilievre's line is, we need to put Canada first, and he's sticking to his spiel, right? He's making it about the Liberal Party leader and how they're still weak and how they're still the same, and how, you know, these last 10 years with Mark Carney, well, it's just going to be a mirror image of what is to come. Yeah. So that's his angle on it. So I don't know. And, you know, the interesting thing, and you probably saw this because they questioned Donald Trump about the election. Initially, he had no clue what the fuck was going on. He thought that Justin Trudeau was taking advantage of this conflict to secure another election.
That's right. Yeah.
Meanwhile, the guy had already said that he was
power. Yeah.
Meanwhile, his party's in a leadership race to replace him. You know what I'm saying? So completely oblivious to what's going on. And they questioned him last week, and he came out and said, you know, frankly, I don't care who wins, but I prefer having the Liberals.
Yeah, he said he'd rather deal with, he said that conservative guy, I don't even think I don't know, he must know Poilievre by name.
I mean, you must have advisors that are briefing you on what's happening in Canada, right? So he goes, that conservative guy, I don't like him.
He's actually said he doesn't like me.
Yeah, exactly.
He's no friend of mine.
Oh, boo. Fucking schoolyard bullshit, you know? So...
Yeah, but I still say he's crazy like a fox, him. I think everything, you know, I know he's, you know, he comes across as a blowhard and blustery, and I think to some extent, obviously he is, but I still think there's a lot he does and says that people think, he's just shooting off his mouth, but it's calculated.
I don't know, man. Honestly, I don't know.
I think he wants to deal with a Liberal because I think that
well, it's easier for him. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it gives him an advantage he's at an advantage, I think, if the Liberals win versus the Conservatives in terms of his agenda.
Yeah, and this is an argument that my buddy Salim he always says on our podcast, because he thinks the idea that people make in their minds that having a conservative in Canada is better because of the relationship traditionally. You know, you're thinking of Reagan and Mulroney, right? You know, and all that stuff. Trudeau and Barack Obama, like when the ideology matches, the relationships are better. And he goes, it's funny because with Trump, that doesn't exist. So even if we elect a conservative government in Canada, it doesn't necessarily mean that things are going to be better with the U.S. because they are both hard-headed guys. Yeah, they're both, stuck on their idea and in their ideology to the point where they may not even find common ground. And it's an interesting point.
Yeah, but I do think Poilievre would be less confrontational, probably.
Poilievre, I think, needs to be very careful because the one thing that he has, I think it's a weight for him, is that aggressive attitude that he's always portrayed.
The nature of his personality.
Yeah, very like he fired like the way he talks, him too. He's been very condescending to media. Obviously, we all know about his plan to slash the CBC and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So he's been very rough, very rude, and I guess he's playing into his electorate. But now things are different. Now Canadians need a leader, and I think that he's going to have to change it. He has to show that he is the best prime minister material. So he needs to get rid of that whole aggressive attitude thing, image. I don't know if that's how he really is or if it's just a shtick that he was doing, but that needs to go. It needs to go, and he needs to demonstrate that he can rise above everyone else, because that's what people see in Mark Carney now. A very calm, poised person, intelligent, good-looking, speaks. I don't think he speaks well, but I mean, he's boring. I mean, when I listen to him, I'm like, oh my God, you're boring. But people are looking at who is, who looks responsible enough to get us through this storm, and that's where he's winning points. I think that he's going to mess up. And if
Poilievre?
No,
Carney. Well, I think that the debates are going to be crucial, and presumably that consortium you talked about, that debate will take place, right?
Yes.
One in English and one in French.
Exactly.
And I think the election could be won or lost there, because Poilievre is a seasoned, savvy debater, because he's a career politician.
Exactly.
Carney is used to, he's used to hanging out with his fellow elites and having a circle jerk. This is going to be anything but that.
I said this before, and forget about the French, because I know he's getting destroyed in French. He's going to get destroyed. He's going to get massacred in French. I think he's going to get massacred even in English.
I do too.
So I don't think. I hope that his team is preparing him, and I hope.
I was going to say, you're used to behind the scenes politics. If you're on Carney's team and you're behind the scenes, how do you prepare him for the debate?
It's almost impossible to prepare him, because he's a rookie coming into politics at the most crucial time ever. So one, you don't have the political experience, and you're blaming, choosing a career politician. Meanwhile, you wish you had that at this present time. So it's almost impossible to prepare this guy adequately to do the debate. It's almost impossible. So they're going to prepare the lines. They're gonna the topics that are going to be discussed. They don't know the questions, obviously. So I'm sure that there's a team preparing content for that debate. The question is, you can't just read answers off of paper. You know what I mean? So I hope that they prepare him well. I don't think they have enough time. Those debates are 2 weeks before the election, so relatively, or a week and a half before. I think it's on April 11 and 12, something like that. Not only that, a friend of mine who also comments on TV, he this thing off, and it's the funniest thing. He goes, not only is he pitching the TVA debate in French, but the French debate from the consortium is happening on the day that it's in Montreal. Both debates are happening in Montreal, and the French one is happening on the day that the Canadians are playing their last game of the season. Nice. I mean, you can't make this shit up, man. You know what I mean? Who the hell is going to watch that debate in French?
Yeah, well, especially if the Canadians are in the thick of the playoff hunt, right? Yeah. And it could come down to the last game of the season.
Absolutely. So who the hell's going to be following the debate? Yeah. You know what I mean? So he's getting...
Well, the French debate would not resonate outside Quebec anyway, would it?
No. Specifically for Quebec. I mean, we're the only province that does these debates, and I think it's important for any leader to... I mean, you don't have to be perfectly bilingual, speak perfectly French, but you can't show Quebecers that you don't give a shit either, And that's what the media is right now. His opponents are kind of hooking on to that as well. Like, you don't give a shit about Quebec. Stop pretending. And he's not helping himself either with the screw-ups that he did. Yeah. So it'll see how they're going to repair this. At the same time, like I said, the main topic today is investments in tax havens with Brookfield. So I don't know how he's going to manage that. And that's going to take up the entire day. Like, he loses an entire day of campaign, this guy. Nobody's going to care about what you're announcing. Mm-hmm. So that's what they're going to push you. They're going to force you to clarify your assets and what you in a blind trust. And at the same time, he hasn't been on on what he's done with the ethics commissioner. Because when you get elected, you have to go through all these criteria, and you have to present everything to the ethics commissioner just to be sure that if there's anywhere where there may be a conflict of interest, she tells you, look, this you got to get rid of, or put in a blind trust, or because of this you can't sit on that committee. Like there's it's so detailed, and he's not elected yet, so he doesn't have that. So all he's saying is that, oh no, I'm complying with the ethics commissioner. But how are you complying? What do you have? What has the ethics commissioner told you?
Yeah. Well, what they were talking about when he condescended to Rosemary Barton.
Exactly.
That was exactly the topic.
And that he needs to way of, I don't know, giving an answer that will please the media so they can drop that so that he can move on to other things. Because I have a feeling that this is probably going to follow him throughout at least half of the campaign. And you don't want that. You don't want any dead weight to pull you down.
Yeah.
And the other thing, he has the media constantly behind him. There was a controversial decision made by Poiliev, who decided that he's not going to have a media caravan following him in his plane and in his bus. Now, people thought that, oh, it's undemocratic. You're closing the media to your campaign, which obviously is not true because
it's your own fucking bus.
Yeah, I mean, everywhere where every announcement he makes, every press conference he makes, there's
Poilievre you're talking about?
Yeah. There's media. So it's not like he's secluding himself. Yeah, it's just that he's not allowing them to come on his plane, and
he's not giving them the free ride.
Exactly. Yeah. And a lot of people, because I've never seen that, to be honest with you, I've never seen that.
Why do you think he's doing it?
Well, there's two things, I think. One, he probably doesn't want to be bothered by the media. Yeah. Somewhere, and this is just speculative, right? This is entirely hypothetical. I think because he's probably noticed a weakness with the Liberals, and specifically Mark Carney, where he thinks, you know what, the more he talks, the more he becomes his worst enemy.
Yeah.
So if
let him sink his own ship.
Yeah. So if I block the media from my campaign, they're all going to run to him anyway. So take them, ask away all the questions you have. Go ahead, and don't worry, I'll be here to make with that. Again, I don't know if that's a strategy.
He's not avoiding the media. No. Like at his events, he's still
of course, they're all there.
He's just not hauling them along on his plane and his bus. They got to find their own way.
And again, Chantal Hébert said something interesting on that, because she's covered so many campaigns, whether it's municipal, provincial, federal. She's done it all, and she's like, listen. She's never seen that either in her entire career of covering news and elections. She's never seen anything like this. And she was saying, you know, I understand that they could be a burden to have reporters constantly there. Like you're crossing your bus and someone's like, hey, by the way, or they can grab an advisor of yours to ask a question, trick them, spill something in the news. There's always something that can happen.
You don't get a chance to relax.
Yeah. But she goes, at the same time, having the media around allows you to immediately respond to anything that may come up. Now, I don't know how valid that is at a time where he can pick up his phone and send off a tweet.
Yeah.
And he has, I don't know how many hundreds of thousands of people following him all the time. Every media has alerts on his social media, so they get everything he does. So is that really a valid argument? I don't know. I think it's mostly on the perception. It's like, why are you closing the door to media, right? But I have a feeling deep down it's much more strategic than that.
Yeah.
I think he wants to give a lot more attention to Mark Carney, because somewhere deep down he feels that this guy's going to keep fucking up every day.
He's going to defeat himself.
Yeah. So that's my take. I mean, I could be completely wrong in this analysis, but that's what I would do. If you have a weak adversary, give him the attention. Go talk. Keep talking.
Yeah.
So
we talked about the bloc. Where does the NDP fit now?
The NDP is finished.
Yeah.
Ted, there's no chance.
Even Tom Mulcair said don't vote NDP, and he's a former NDP leader.
Exactly.
But he didn't say that because of any disagreement with what they propose or what they represent. He said it because it represents vote splitting, right?
Exactly.
He doesn't want them to take votes away from the Liberals.
He doesn't want Poiliev to win for whatever reason. And his strategy is fuck the NDP, vote Liberals, give them a chance to win, And as long as we don't have Poilievre, we're good.
Yeah. What do you think if you're Jugmeat, though, and you got the former leader of your party going, don't vote for us?
But it's not the first time that they disagree, eh?
Yeah.
It's not the first time. And
is that right?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, I didn't know that.
And no, but Thomas Mulcair has gone public on many things that have been completely opposite of what Jagmeet Singh has been doing. Like, for example, the security clearance, Poilievre security clearance. I don't know if you remember back in the day with all the talk about foreign interference in Canada, and Trudeau forced the leaders of the opposition to have access to the information, but they had to sign a non-disclosure agreement for the rest of their lives. For the rest of their lives, Ted. It's like, I'll give you access to the information that we have from CSIS and the RCMP.
But you can never tell anyone ever.
Ever. And Poilievre hasn't. He didn't get that clearance.
Is that why he didn't sign?
Yeah,
because it was
and
in perpetuity.
Well, I don't know if that's the case, but Tom Mulcair has a very interesting argument, and it's weird that it's coming from Mulcair.
Yeah,
and he says, "Listen, he is the leader of the opposition. His job is to keep the government in check, and if you have access to information, but you cannot disclose that information or use that information against the government, then you are defaulting.
You're handcuffing yourself.
Not only that, but it's like you can't do that because you're putting the leader of the opposition in a position where he can't do his job. Constitutionally, his job there is to keep you in check, and you immediately scratch that off by getting him not to be able to use any of this information against you, which is, and I agree with him 100%. I mean, that's your job is to question the government. And it was a very intelligent thing that Justin Trudeau did, because like they can't fucking use that against me now. They can't mention any of it.
Yeah.
Which is stupid. And Mulcair said that, listen, when he was the leader of the opposition, at any point in time, CSIS can brief you. At any point in time, the RCMP can brief you at any point in time. And he even said that when Stephen Harper was there and we were the opposition, he would pick up the phone and call me and say, hey, Tom, this is what's going on. This may come up in the news. I just wanted you to know this is what we're doing, blah, blah, blah. And he would give him the confidential information. He would brief him as the leader of the opposition because it's his right to have that information. It's his constitutional right to have that information, and that's his job. His job is to have that information and to question the government about it. And to think that you're going to get that information and go leak it to the media, like, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. You're not going to do that. If it's sensitive information, you trust that the other person is going to keep their mouth shut, but because you're there, you're a leader of a party in our parliament, you deserve to have this information. Point à la ligne. That's it. That's all. Harper did his job right. Mm-hmm. And I think Mulcair is right in this. Now, from Poilievre's perspective, because they question him on, because when they're questioning Mark Carney on his ethics and disclosing his information, whatever, he bounces right back and says, look, for whatever 9 months or 19 months, whatever the time is, Poilievre hasn't gotten his security clearance. I did everything even before I launched my bid for the leadership race. I've been following the advice of the ethics commissioner. I was there even before, and I've been collaborating with the ethics commissioner. And the other guy has 9 months or 10 months now that he hasn't even gotten a security clearance. And Poilievre's response to that is like, look, man, I was a cabinet minister. I already have clearance. I don't need to get clearance, which is wrong. It's false, because it's not because you were a minister whatever, fucking 11 years ago, 12 years ago. I
don't even remember what he was the minister of.
I think it was housing or something like that. Yeah. So it's not because you were a minister of, some cabinet that is not only completely irrelevant, but completely disconnected from this issue. It doesn't mean that you have that clearance to have access to the information. You have to consistently request to get clearance. I think he knows that, but he's whatever. He. So it's interesting because there's going to be a lot of fact checkers during this election, and it's going to be interesting to see what comes up. But the other thing I want to talk to you is the amount of people, Ted, that are running back to the ship. Everyone that abandoned the Liberals because, oh shit, this like ship
Jerry
is sinking.
Butts.
Jerry Butts came back.
Yeah,
right? He's behind the scenes
and
somewhere.
he was Trudeau's chief of staff. If I get that right?
No, his chief of staff was Katie Telford. Yes. He was like a special advisor of some sort.
He was basically his right hand man. He was the voice in his. He was the Trudeau whisperer.
Yeah, exactly. And he left after, I can't remember which scandal. I think it was the We Charity thing. That after that he resigned.
I can't remember which scandal. That says a lot. It was one of them. There were so many.
So I think he left after that, but now he's back in the decor. whatever, man. He's a liberal. He's coming back home. That's fine. I can't judge him for that. Good for you.
Well, also, he's got, whether you like the guy or not, or agree with, his politics or ideology or not, he's got, tremendous experience. Yeah. And he's probably an asset. Well, obviously, Carney considers him to be an asset, or he wouldn't have brought him back.
Yeah. Yeah. No. He definitely has experience enough to be where he is. But what I'm talking about more is all these MPs that left. Anita Anand, who was the defense minister, stepped away, said she's not running again. Pablo Rodriguez left.
They're all coming back?
No. I wish Pablo Rodriguez would leave and go back to the federal, but he's got
his eye on Quebec Liberal leadership,
he's
right?
Doing his campaign there. Soraya Martinez, who was, I think, the tourism minister, left. She became the leader of Ensemble Montréal. She's running to become mayor of Montreal. And then you have Sean Fraser in Nova Scotia, who was, I think, immigration minister or housing minister, who also said that he wasn't going to run again. Both him and Anita Anand suddenly changed their mind. Oh, no, I'm coming out of retirement. The challenge is enormous, and we need all hands on deck to confront this challenge. For Anita Anand, okay, whatever. There was nothing happening in her riding. But imagine this, Ted. I'm the MP. Well, I can't remember what riding it is in Nova Scotia. I step down, and the party finds a replacement candidate. Ted Bird is running to replace me because I retired. Now I announce to the party, no, I'm coming back. So the party comes in and says, Ted, step aside. Sean Fraser is coming back.
No.
How embarrassing is that?
Yeah, well, it's embarrassing and it's wrong.
Of course.
It's wrong.
Of course it's wrong. How do you do that? How do you fucking do that? Like, it's ridiculous. So, anyways, I just find that, funny. Before you're like, I don't really think I want to be in opposition. It's going to be a deadly one,
yeah.
But suddenly now you got the wind in your sail, and you're like, ooh, let's go back.
Yeah, yeah.
It's a little hypocritical.
It's a lot hypocritical. It's like, which way's the wind blowing? Oh, it's blowing that way. Okay, I'm in. Yeah.
Exactly. But even Mark Carney, he's running. Everyone was suspecting that he was going to run somewhere in Edmonton because that's where he grew up. Mm-hmm. But instead, he chose a riding in the Ottawa region, the riding of Nepean, whatever I don't know how it's called.
Yeah.
And we've heard that riding before because the former MP there, Chandra Arya, he was running for the leadership of the Liberal Party. And he's the guy that messed up and said, French is not important.
Yeah,
People in Quebec don't care about French. People in Quebec just want the government to give them what they want. And he got so destroyed with that. Like, the party kicked him out of the campaign for what he said.
So that's the riding
and
where
that's the riding where they kicked
Okay.
him out. And he didn't know either. He just found out. They sent him a letter saying, by the way,
you're out.
You're out. And not only that, the leader is actually running in your riding.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I want to ask you what you think about some of Carney's photo ops and some of his media ops, like the Mike Myers thing.
Yeah.
I thought that was really cringy.
Yeah.
But I'm not a card-carrying conservative, but I want them to win because I don't like the Liberals and I don't like Carney. I'm not a fan. So obviously I'm biased and I see it through a cynical lens, but I really thought it was cringy. I thought the act. Somebody said somebody said on social media, Carney's a natural, and I said, "Are you kidding me? I haven't seen acting that wooden since Pinocchio." And you've got two guys, and multiple people pointed this out. You've got two guys who've lived outside of Canada and made their fortunes outside of Canada, and now all of a sudden they're waving the Canadian flag.
Yeah.
Like, come on.
Yeah,
I found it very disingenuous.
I mean,
it was clever and creative,
yeah.
but it didn't resonate with me.
Yeah, I think anyone running in this election would want someone like Mike Myers to do a little skit with them. It's a great promotional thing, I think, for the Liberal Party. Good for them. It's one of those little victories. You got Mike Myers to collaborate with you. Two things, and again, this is the French media in Quebec that picked this up. And I don't know if people have seen the skit. Basically, he tells Mark Myers, yeah, but you live in New York. You live in the U.S. He goes, yeah, but I'm Canadian. Yeah, but you live in the U.S. He goes, yeah, but it doesn't make me less Canadian. And then Mark Carney is giving him these little clues, and he has to answer.
Yeah.
And nothing about Quebec.
There wasn't. I didn't notice that.
Nothing.
Yeah, it was like little trivia questions he was asking him. Who were Mr. Dress Up sidekicks?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I didn't ask him about Cheylin, did he?
So nothing in Quebec, and people immediately the French media here picked it up.
Sure.
So that adds
As
on.
well they should.
Of course. So I mean, I don't know.
And Mike Myers was on Saturday Night Live doing his elbows up thing. You know what? I never heard. I've been a hockey fan for 60 years, and I never heard the expression "elbows up" until 3 weeks ago.
What does it mean? What is that? Like,
well,
we're ready to fight, kind of thing.
Exactly.
Like
your elbows, like if you give somebody an elbow in the face when you go into the corners, right? But it's a penalty and it's considered dirty play. But the point is, I've never heard the expression. I've heard drop the gloves. I've heard keep your stick on the ice. Yeah. I've heard you run my fucking goalie one more time and I'll fucking kill you. But I've never heard elbows up ever.
Yeah.
Hashtag elbows up. It's something that somebody made up in a meeting, marketing meeting or whatever.
I don't know.
Strategy meeting somewhere. But something else that I find disingenuous, but everybody jumps on it, right? Everybody's elbows up.
Here's the thing. I think Mark Carney's goal is to paint the vision that we need to unite Canada against our biggest threat, which is suddenly the U.S. They're no longer our friend. And there's this nationalist pride that suddenly has spurred, and maybe rightfully so. I don't know. And I think that's what pretty much got the Liberal Party where it is right now.
But a lot of the people who are waving the flag now are people who were condemning the convoy for waving the flag. There are people who supported the flag being lowered to half-mast in honor of the missing Indigenous children, who were never found, like these graves, these mass graves that didn't exist. Yeah. The people who are on board with the whole notion of Canada not having any core identity, and we're white colonizer, right? The usual suspects. Now they're the ones who all of a sudden are waving the flag. Again, I find it hypocritical and disingenuous.
I think it's all about perception. And I think if there's one thing you got to give to the Liberal Party, they took advantage of the crisis that they were having internally in the party.
100%, yeah.
It's like the best way you could have done it.
Yeah, and they know how to manipulate people's emotions.
And of course, look, they were thrown a huge life raft by Donald Trump. Yeah. Let's be honest here. I mean,
How come I can't move this chair, George?
Yeah, I don't know.
Nailed to the floor? Is
it? There's wheels. You got to roll.
It won't roll. Hang on. All right, there we go.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry.
So yeah, they played their cards perfectly. Yeah. And not only that, they completely destabilized the Conservatives. Their entire platform, their entire communications and marketing and everything they had going against the Liberals and Justin Trudeau just evaporated. It's no good anymore. They had to go back to the drawing board. So that you got to give it to them. And I think it's about perception, and it's about, giving people that vision that we need to stand up to the U.S. and we need to bring back that Canadian patriotism. I don't blame Mike Myers for doing that skit. He's a Canadian. He's proud of it.
I'd like to know how much he got paid, and I'd like to know where the money came from.
Oh, for sure he probably got paid. But
I hope it came from the Liberal Party and not from the federal government.
No, for sure. For sure it came from the Liberal Party. But here's the question I have. If you're Mike Myers, and I don't blame you for wanting to...
If you're Mike Myers, why do you now look like my lesbian great aunt? What's with the hair, Mike?
But it does make him look younger, though.
I guess.
No, but here's the question I have. That's fine. You want to be patriotic. It's perfect. Why are you choosing one candidate? And maybe, I don't know, maybe Mike Myers is a liberal. Who knows? But to me, it's like, are you a Canadian patriot and you want to kind of give off that image that we're not gonna fold to the Americans, or are you let me support Mark Carney? Like so he's. I just always had an issue with actors politicizing themselves, and it's in their right. I mean, they're citizens and they vote and they can pick whoever the hell they want.
Well, it seems to be the nature of the beast in the acting community and the music community. Yeah, there's an inordinate number of political activists. They all like to wave whatever flag it is that they wave politically or ideology. And I think that maybe that's just part of being an artist. I don't know.
I think so too. I often put myself in their shoes, and if I was a huge celebrity, I would so not get involved in politics because you don't know how that can turn.
I would if I thought it was important, and I think some of them do think that it's important. I think a lot of them, believe in the causes or the ideologies that they speak up for. But I also think there's a lot to be said for what you're saying is, if it doesn't matter that much, then stay out of it.
Like I think of what's his face, Robert De Niro. Okay,
Yeah,
I get it.
He just crossed my mind too.
Yeah.
Like he's way over the top with it though.
And not only that, Ted. Okay, you're a Democrat. That's fine. Be a Democrat.
But
okay?
he's full on Trump derangement syndrome.
Yeah, but it's not have Trump derangement syndrome if you want. I don't have a problem with that. You know what the issue I have? This is my problem. You get involved about a year into the election, and you're trashing Trump, and you're doing all these press conference, and was it at the Oscars where he came out and said "fuck Trump" or whatever he came out?
Yeah, but that
and
was
said?
a number of years ago. That wasn't this past Oscars.
Oh no, it wasn't.
No,
I just saw a clip.
Yeah, no, I saw that clip too. That didn't happen at this year's Oscars. Somebody trotted that out, and it ended up. The perception was it happened at this year's Oscars. It did not. This year's Oscars were decidedly apolitical.
Yeah.
And I think that maybe the producers of the show might have sent out a memo beforehand saying, let's try to keep politics out of this, guys.
And I think that's a smart thing to do.
Yeah, me too. There was very, very little politics.
But then again, and then I think of Selena Gomez, who, on election day, she was crying on her Instagram. Like, oh, I'm so sorry.
Yeah,
they're going to kick you out. And
that's just a narcissist looking for attention.
Here's the problem I have. Where are you now?
Yeah.
Where are you now? What are you doing now? You come out a couple months, maybe a year before the election, and as soon as the elections happen, you guys disappear. And here's the issue. Nothing bad happens. You just don't like that politician, but you're not living in a third world fucking country.
Yeah, Selena Gomez is doing okay.
Yeah, like nothing bad is gonna happen. Nothing's
Just be
bad.
Britney Spears. Be crazy.
Exactly.
Yeah, take your prescription drugs and dance for the camera.
Like, who's the other one that fled? Like, who was it? Rosie O'Donnell that left, or fucking?
Yeah, it was Rosie O'Donnell. I think she moved to Ireland. Poor Ireland. She's yours now.
What was it with Trump? I think it was in his first campaign where they were telling him you're so degrading towards women, and you calling them names. And he's like, no, just Rosie O'Donnell. Remember that? It was so fucking funny. Yeah. It's like he totally assumes it.
Yeah.
It's like, no. I'm not mean towards women. Just Rosie O'Donnell.
Yeah.
It's so fucking funny. Yeah. Oh my goodness. What are we going to talk about? Another thing that we're sticking primarily to the elections, because I mean that's what's pretty much happening right now. The announcements, not much in promises yet. I mean, it's still very early on in the election.
Well, there was a big one with Polyev. Did he not say an across the board 15% or average 15% income tax cut?
Yeah,
that's significant.
No, I think he's going to reduce the income tax to 12%. And the Liberals said 14% in the lowest taxable bracket, I think. So he's...
Oh, okay. So then I misread the story. I thought he had promised a 15% cut in taxes.
If you add it up, does it come out to 12%? I don't know. Maybe we're saying the same thing, but I'm looking at it differently. I'm saying how much are you going to get taxed?
Yeah, I know that like the lower your tax bracket, the more you would benefit. So
basically he promised more than the Liberals. We're talking about billions of dollars.
And then the Liberal response was, but how's he going to pay for it? He's going to cut this.
But the same thing could be said for the Liberals. And I'm putting both of them in the same camp over here. They're both promising to increase investments across the board, infrastructure investments, business, military. You want to cut taxes and you want to balance the books. To me, there's something missing in the formula because I don't get it. If you're eliminating revenue, from the government's perspective, and you want to waste more money on infrastructure projects and especially the military. I mean, the military infrastructure isn't cheap, right? How are you going to save money? And I'm curious to see in French that it's called le cadre financier, like the financial statements at the end. Like, how are they going to make it work? Because they've both promised that they're going to balance, right? Tough to see how $60 billion could be balanced within a mandate. I don't see that happening. But it's weird because you have the Liberals coming into conservative territory. Mark Carney that met the provincial premiers, and they, in quotations, agreed to drop trade barriers and to create an energy and gas corridors across the country, which is, by the way, it was in the conservative platform. I think for Andrew Scheer was proposing that, to create an energy corridor across Canada that could serve for electricity, natural gas, and whatever other fossil fuels. So he's picking up something from a conservative platform and he's offering it to the Liberals. And then you have Pierre Poilievre, who, they question him on what is he going to do with the pharmacare or the dental care and the national daycare program that Justin Trudeau implemented, which, by the way, he was so critical on those two things. He was...
Poilievre was.
Oh my God! Yeah. Anything but these programs. It was a waste of money for him. They didn't need it. And he's refusing to say if he's going to keep it or not, because it doesn't make sense for you to cancel them. It's a good thing. You're from Quebec. We pay $8 a day, $9 a day to send our kid to daycare. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, we got it good with daycare, and we got it good with electricity. I got my power bill the other day, and I said to myself, fuck, I wish everything was this cheap.
Exactly, right?
Like my cable bill is more than my electricity bill.
Yeah, and the dental plan, the only reason you're against it is because it's additional expenses for the government that should be more fiscally prudent. But at the end of the day, how many seniors I've seen? They're like, finally, I went and got my teeth fixed.
Yeah, me too.
It's not bad. And I can't see how Poilievre is just going to cancel that. So I don't know. And it's funny because all the journalists now are spinning, well, the Liberals are going more in the right and Poilievre seems to be going more in the left, which is ridiculous to even think. But I just don't think he's going to eliminate everything that Justin Trudeau did.
Do you think there's a way to eliminate government waste and corruption the way that Trump's trying to do with Doge, but without being so heavy-handed and going in with the chainsaw the way they are in the States? Yeah. That's a pretty delicate dance, eh?
Of course, and especially in the U.S. because, well, Elon Musk isn't elected, so basically he took a private citizen, who has he's the richest man on the planet, and told him take care of the finances, the government finances. And the complicated thing in the U.S. is that the government's expenses are part of a budget that gets approved and voted on in the Senate and in the Congress. So everything that the government is spending money on is the decision made by the people that are elected.
Has been approved by elected representatives, exactly. And now you've got the unelected guy going in there and undoing everything.
Chop everything. Yeah. How are you doing that? We voted on having this passed. Yeah. So who are you now to come and cut it? And the problem,
and this is why judges, are they district judges? Is that what they call them?
Yeah.
Well, there are judges in the states who are shutting some of that down, who are issuing rulings saying, no, you can't cut that spending. It's unconstitutional. This is stuff that was approved by Congress. You can't come in as an unelected representative and cut that. And so now there's a big debate over the executive branch of the government versus the legislative branch.
Yeah, exactly. And at the very least, what they could do is sit down and say, okay, listen, we respect the position that, our president gave you. Let's comply. Let's sit down. Let's form a special committee on government expenditures. And it's transparent. It's public. So he knows exactly where the government is spending and how much they're spending. And let's talk. And then whatever you want, we'll comply with it. And then we'll vote that in the House. There is a possibility of making it happen. It's just that, like you said, it's a fucking bulldozer. He walked in and was like, I don't give a fuck about you. I got the mandate straight from the president. And I think I think that procedure is necessary. But in that context, there's a better way to do it.
Yeah. I don't know what that way is, but I think that if half, and this applies to Canada as well as the U.S., if half of what they say is wasted or is going back into the pockets of politicians and other people behind the scenes in terms of kickbacks and corruption, if even half of it,
there's a lot of waste. There's a lot of waste.
And when you're running deficits in the tens of billions of dollars, and when your national debt is in the trillions now, you got to fucking do something about that. Yeah. Or else where's it going to end? Like, where does that end? it's not a happy ending for anybody.
And to be honest with you, given the circumstances now politically, I don't see how any government like a responsible government can start cutting, because you need to make provisions now in case this fucking weirdo south of the border who is completely unpredictable says, fuck it, I'm applying whatever 250% tariffs on milk and dairy. What are the Quebec farmers going to do? So the government, a responsible government, needs to find a plan to support them, right? So in my mind, there is no way that the governments are going to start cutting, because you're going to have to support your economy soon if it's as bad as they make it seem, right, with the U.S. And I think it is. I mean, just the unpredictability of it, it's horrible. It's horrible. So, I mean, yesterday, Quebec, and we're not going to get into the details. I didn't have time to look at it, but the Quebec government tabled their budget yesterday. The positive spin on that budget was that last year we had predicted an $11 billion deficit. Finally, we only reached $9 billion, which is good, because our growth was bigger than we had predicted. But this next exercise, we're predicting $13 billion deficit. So it's like $13 billion. It's like a record deficit in the history of Quebec. But from the minister's perspective, he's like, there's no other way we can do this. There's no other alternative. We need to support our businesses, and we need to start injecting money, because in the long run, we can maybe be shooting ourselves in the foot. So, it's like, what do you want? Do you want the government to be fiscally prudent and to balance the books, or do you want the government to be creating this context in which our businesses won't suffer as much as they're projecting that they will suffer in case, Trump moves forward with whatever plan he has?
There's got to be a long-term strategy for getting it turned around, because you can't do. You're a businessman. Could you do? No. Could you do deficits and go deeper and deeper into debt in perpetuity without the whole fucking thing falling apart?
No, of course not. Of course not. Of course not. And again, look, this is levels of economics that I probably don't understand, but at this point, I mean, 10 years of Justin Trudeau, and this is consistently, he's never ever even cut down from his, even reduce the deficit, even remotely a bit. It's always been increasing for the last 10 years.
I saw so many people, on social media, thank you, Mr. Prime Minister, for what you did for the country, and you were great, and we love you. And I thought, well, what did he do? What did he do that was good or great for Canada?
I don't know.
He took care of us during the pandemic.
Who, Trudeau?
That was, that's what a lot of his supporters say. Thank you for shepherding us through, to me, which my spin on that is govern me harder, Daddy.
But at the same time, he did what any leader should have done during that pandemic, which was, I guess, dump a shit ton of money into the provinces so they can take care of their medical system, which has been completely neglected for God knows how long, right? And that's not his responsibility alone. It's also the provincial governments as well. I don't know what he did good. He legalized marijuana.
Well, I don't smoke it anymore, so it doesn't matter to me.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure there's good stuff. I mean, look, there's programs that have been implemented that we probably don't know about. But if you look at the grand scale, internationally, it's horrible. Like, you destroyed relations with some of the biggest partners ever. Nobody, you lost so much respect from your international partners. And internally, you created a financial situation that is going to damage probably the next generation.
Yeah, and I also thought he was very divisive, too, and particularly during the pandemic. There were things he said about people who were vaccine hesitant.
Oh, my God, yeah.
Calling them racists and misogynists. I don't want to get a vaccine. If I don't want to get a vaccine, how does that make me racist and misogynist? And, his whole, if you're not going to get vaccinated, you're not getting on a fucking train, and you're not getting on
overdone, over dramatization. Yeah. And he's like, no, Canadians have their rights, but if you think for a second that we're going to let you infect people on planes and trains, we're not going to. What the fuck are you talking about, man?
Yeah, it just, it left a sour taste in my mouth.
What did you think of his selfie at Canadian Tire the day right after the leadership?
I was just thinking about that. Well, you know what? He knows, that's.
Which has become a huge meme, by the way.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. And on, it was on that. It was the reaction to that the social media reaction to that is what where I'm drawing these comments from about. Everyone was like, good for you, good for you, and thank you, and you're getting back to enjoy your time with your family, and I wish him well with his family as well. But he knows he's the king of the photo ops. He knows how to play it right.
But it's so fake.
I know, but people buy it. I know it's fake, but everyone buys into it. Just like, to me, elbows up. It doesn't even fucking exist. It's a thing that it doesn't exist. It's not a thing. But everybody's buying into it because it's an easy hashtag.
Here's what caught my attention with that. And obviously I laughed at him. Like, what are you doing, dude? It's the day right after the leadership. Like, you're done. Your journey in politics just ended. Normally, government leaders or former prime ministers, when they decide to resign, they disappear. They get the fuck out. You left. Your time is done. You accepted it. In your case, it was the worst way to end any political career, in my opinion. Just leave. Be quiet for about a year, 2 years.
It's hard for him, though, I think.
But the day after, you're putting up a selfie. Feels nothing better than shopping at Canadian Tire on a Monday morning.
Yeah.
What the fuck are you talking about, man? Come on.
Yeah, but people ate it up. People loved it. His people loved it. But you're right, It's become a meme now.
Oh my God, yeah. my everyone is just cropping that picture and putting it in. My friend took it.
I saw one where he's in a pinball arcade.
My friend has a grocery, like a fruit and vegetables store, and he put a picture there with his.
So that Justin's in his store?
Yeah. Justin also came by our store, by the way. And then it's funny because last week, Gabriel Nadeau-Dubois, the co-leader of Quebec Solidaire, announced that he is resigning as a spokesperson of his party, as the leader of this party, and that he won't be running again. He won't be seeking re-election in 2016. So he's staying up until he's going to finish his mandate, and then he won't be doing.
What's he going to do?
I don't know. He's a very smart guy, and I'm sure that he's going to...
I always thought he had a big political future. He was one of the leaders during the student protest, right? He's young guy, good-looking, smart. I always thought that politics was right for him.
I think, and
Did he pick the wrong party?
For sure, he picked the wrong party, and maybe he, smart enough to realize that what is this effort for? At the end of the day, we're never going to govern. We're going to be perpetually in opposition, known as the complainers, and it's important because that's our parliamentary system. We need to have the opposition parties, but a guy like him, a talent like him, it's just wasted. Wasted. But at the same time, that's also one of the negative aspects of jumping into politics at such a young age, that by the age of 35, I don't know how old he is, 37, he already has this huge political career behind him because he started so young. So I don't blame the guy. Do something else. Do something more productive for you and your family. Take care of your family. That's the most important thing. But the point was that Justin Trudeau sends off that picture on Monday, and I think Tuesday or Wednesday, Gabriel Nadeau-Dubois announced that he was resigning at the end of the mandate, and they took a picture of him and they put it next to Justin Trudeau in I don't know what store. So it's like Justin Trudeau found himself a buddy.
Somebody made a meme
with both of them together. Oh man, the internet is just fucking golden.
It is. I saw something today, and I wish I should have bookmarked it so I could have played it for you. But it was on Instagram, and it was a phone call, and it was someone in France calling a store in Belgium, and the whole thing took place in French, and my French is not good enough that I can recreate it in that language. But basically, it was a guy from France calling this store in Belgium, and he said, "Je veux parler avec quelqu'un français," and she says, "Je suis français, monsieur." No, tu es belge. He said, and the whole thing, the conversation went on and on in French with him saying, "No, I need to speak to someone in French." "I am speaking French, sir. This is Belgium, and we speak French." No, you're speaking Belgian. "I need to talk to someone in French."
That's so funny.
Yeah, and she passed the phone on to somebody else, and he passed the phone on to somebody else, and the guy in France played it beautifully. He was just like, no, you don't understand. You guys are speaking Belgian. I need to speak to someone in French. And their French was perfect, eh? That perfect European French. It was so funny.
Oh my God.
I'm going to find it and send it to you. It was great.
What do you make of this whole information leak with the U.S.'s plans to bomb Yemen?
It's like a Saturday Night Live skit, and Saturday Night Live will probably do a skit on that. This coming Saturday. Yeah, they somehow, like the heavy hitters in the Trump administration, ended up with
I think it's Mike
the editor
Waltz,
of the Atlantic,
yeah.
Bloomberg. Is that his name? Bloomberg?
Oh, I don't know what his name is, but I know that the guy's the advisor took full blame for it, which I don't know if it's really him, because usually, I mean, they tell you, look, you take the fall for this one because we can't show that we're that.
Yeah, he got added to a text group where they were talking about U.S. military strategy against the Houthis, was it?
Yeah, the
Yemen,
the Houthis in Yemen.
Yeah. What a fuck up.
Oh, major fuck up.
Yeah.
Major fuck up. And again, for me, the memes is what's funny. There was this meme with Vance. What's his name?
Pete Hesketh?
Pete Hesketh and Mike Waltz. Like, I don't know what is the advisor's name.
He's National Security Advisor, I think. And Hesketh is the Defense Secretary.
So it's like 4 squares. So it's those 3 guys and Elon Musk on the bottom. So they're like, I don't know. It's like a little speech bubble there. I can't remember what they're saying. And then it gets to Elon Musk. He's like, wait, you guys are in a text chain and I'm not? Why am I not included
What about me?
Poor guy.
Yeah.
Do you think that Elon Musk is going to stay on for a while? Because I have a feeling, do you see what's happening out there with all these last week, these stupid environmentalists went to Tesla dealership on DeCarry, I think.
I saw that.
And they spray painted it red. And they're like, oh, we got to fight for the environment and Tesla this and Tesla that and Elon Musk this and that. And they're like, dude, you just spray painted a dealership that sells electric vehicles.
The biggest electric vehicle company in the world.
What the fuck's wrong with these idiots?
Well, it's Trump derangement syndrome, which has now spread to become Elon derangement syndrome, because Elon's thick as thieves with Trump. What I can't understand is how people have not yet figured out that every Tesla has like multiple security cameras on it. You can't vandalize a Tesla without being caught on camera, and yet people continue to do it. And I've worked this into my to my stand-up comedy, where I talk about people are not only, keying Teslas, they're firebombing them. They're firebombing individual cars in the dealership. And I say, lucky for me, people are so preoccupied with setting Teslas on fire that it hasn't occurred to them to vandalize my Volkswagen, which was literally inspired by Hitler. Like, Hitler came up with the idea for Volkswagen. He said to Ferdinand Porsche in 1937, Fernie, I need you to design a car. I want it to be mass-produced and affordable to all German families, and we'll call it the people's car, Volkswagen.
Exactly.
And it's still out there, and nobody's boycotting Volkswagen or vandalizing Volkswagens. My friend Zach, who you met, who's been on this show, Zach he says to me, Sled, he says, what you got to do, you got to pull up beside anyone driving a Tesla, roll down your window and go, hey, my car was made by a real fascist.
Oh my God. No, but I'm thinking of Elon Musk, and this guy, he's a fucking gazillionaire. He's the richest man on the planet. What the hell are you doing in politics, dude? You're gonna fall flat on your face.
Well, listen, I think he's got a big ego, and I probably would too if I was the richest man in the world. But I also think that he genuinely, I think him and Trump, I don't think either one of them are motivated by money, because they've both got more than they need. I think they genuinely want to have a legacy, and I think it's their ego and their narcissism at play, where they genuinely want to have a legacy of this guy. Trump wants his legacy to be, he really did make America great again, and Elon wants his legacy to be, he made the world a better place for everybody. But they're just so heavy-handed in what they do and in how they approach it.
I just feel that there is no, for certain people, there's just no positive outlook that you can get out of getting involved in politics. It's just bad. The pressure, you're like I said, the richest person on the planet. Everyone is going to scrutinize everything you do. What kind of public contracts are your companies getting? Are you involved with that? His stocks have plummeted. I don't know, man. If I was worth the money that he, if I had the money he had, the last thing on my mind would be to just go fucking deal with imbeciles up on the hill. Yeah. Just enjoy your money. Do the good work that you're doing. He brought back the fucking astronauts, by the way. Nobody even covered it. Nobody covered it.
Of course not. No.
So why do you even bother? And yeah, I get your point. You want to do good. You want to contribute to the betterment of your American society. But at the end of the day, that's not going to be what people remember you for. People are going to remember you for being fucking Donald Trump's sidekick that went in and bulldozed, the government apparatus.
Well, I mean, that's what's happening right now. But let's see where we're at 10 years down the road.
Yeah.
It's things change. It's a long game, and who knows where we're going to be 10 years? Who knows if we're going to be?
Yeah,
10 years down the road. Did you see the story with someone smeared human shit on Wayne Gretzky's statue?
I did. What's wrong? What is wrong with people?
I don't know. And I mentioned that on what did I say on social media? I said, tell me again about how polite and courteous Canadians are, but please wash your hands first. Because that was, no pun intended, that was a really shitty thing to do. And the whole Wayne Gretzky is a traitor thing is just, so he's buddies with Trump. That doesn't make him a fucking traitor. No. He's Wayne Gretzky, for Christ's sake. Yeah. You're not going to cancel him. Good luck with that. They've been trying to cancel Bobby Orr for, I think, like over 4 years now. Bobby Orr supported Trump in Trump's first.
Yeah.
Was it his first No, it was in his campaign for re-election. Bobby Orr took out a newspaper ad saying he supports Donald Trump. And people have been trying to cancel Bobby Orr ever since. You're not going to cancel Bobby Orr, and you're not going to cancel Wayne Gretzky, certainly not on the basis of their political opinions or affiliations. They'd have to do something a lot worse than be buddies with Trump before you can cancel guys of that caliber. They're great Canadians.
Yeah, here's the problem I have, and this is something that I experienced personally because, you work in politics and you're in this bubble, and you think that everything revolves around what you experience. Like, it makes no sense to you that someone didn't follow question period, or that someone didn't know what that guy said in one of the parliamentary committees, on fucking, I don't know, culture or whatever. And you're like, what? You didn't see what he said and this and that. And when I stopped working in politics, I realized that exact thing, that I was in a fucking bubble. And
it's the same thing with social media. Yeah. And I'm guilty of that. I get caught up in the bubble of social media where I think, I see something on social media and I think, oh, I've got to comment on that.
Yeah, exactly.
No, you don't. Or no, I don't. Why do I have to comment on that? And it becomes like what I do now is I'm like, they used to say pre-social media, they used to say, if you're mad at somebody or something, write a letter.
Yeah.
And then when you're done writing the letter, tear it up and throw it in the garbage.
Right.
And that's what I do a lot with social media now is I'll respond to something I see that pisses me off.
You type it and then you backspace.
And then I delete it. Yeah. Not every time, but a lot of the time.
So that's the thing, man. We're all living, or at least we think that we're contributing. In the grand scheme, nobody's fucking listening to you. Nobody's listening to you. Gretzky isn't even listening to you.
Well, apparently he is. His wife put out a statement on social media saying that he was quite hurt by the reaction by people coming after him for having a relationship with Donald Trump. So he does care, but at the end of the day, and I include myself in this. We have to be less cynical. We have to stop arguing with each other. Trish Wood, who I mentioned earlier, she has a tagline on her podcast: "Truth over tribe." And I like that. And why not do something nice for somebody rather than yell at somebody? Do something nice for somebody today. Call up somebody who is having a hard time and ask them how they're doing. Try that versus smearing shit on Wayne Gretzky's statue.
Where did they get the shit?
I don't know. Did you see one guy who got caught vandalizing a Tesla? And this is awful. And a bad way to end the show, but I'll tell the story anyway. He was like reaching into his pants.
Oh, no.
Yeah. And then smearing, I guess he didn't wipe his ass well enough and smearing his own shit on the side of a Tesla. Like, come on, buddy.
Like, what's worse? This guy's just gonna grab a hose and wash it off. Your ass is dirty. Like, what do you? You leave
now
your house.
You're walking around with your own shit on your hand.
It's not that. It's the idea that I'm gonna go smear a car, so I gotta shit myself.
Yeah.
And I gotta walk with shit in my pants so I can get to the first Tesla I see.
Yeah. Honest to God. Yeah. The whole world's nuts, George.
You're right. That was a great way to end the podcast.
Sorry about that.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. Reminding you all to subscribe. Patreon.com/Pantelis. Get yourself a plan. Ted Bird, ladies and gentlemen, half of the Terry and Ted podcast, standing by with other legendary broadcaster Terry DeMonte.
New episode came out this morning.
At midnight on Tuesday or morning on Wednesday, depending on how you characterize it. Their episodes are available. Go listen to that. And if you know or understand French, head on over to Politiquement Parlant. Lots of stuff coming down during this election on that channel as well. Thank you all so much. Hopefully next week we're back at the Pantelis studio. If not, we'll figure out some solution. Don't worry about it.
I'll nap on George's couch and we'll do it here again.
Exactly. Thank you all and have a great day. Ciao.